I arrived at Doc's house in the middle of the night, my mind in an irrational state. I stormed up to the front door, which was met with my fist, pounding until it was opened. Once inside, I confronted him with the card I had found in my apartment. We sat down and he proceeded to explain himself. Indeed, his full name was Edward Raymond Harrington. He was a colleague of Alan Brentwood's and a key player in getting the drug study approval that I was a part of at the university. When Alan started doing his rogue experiment with me, Edward found out and paid the price for doing so. Alan Brentwood altered a drug formula that the two of them had created and made ready for submission to the FDA. The new formula included side effects he accused Dr. Harrington of purposefully overlooking, along with other damning indictments which would land him behind bars for several years. While in prison, Edward contacted Jonathan, a student chosen to receive Dr. Harrington's yearly scholarship for demonstrating academic excellence in the field of medicine. He informed Jonathan of the sinister experiment Alan Brentwood was conducting on me. Per Edward's request, Jonathan kept tabs on me and tried to find evidence of the altered chemical formula in order to exonerate Dr. Harrington and potentially be the first step in exposing Alan Brentwood's inauspicious nature. However, Jonathan's task proved to be futile and subsequently became untraceable. Why he was involved in the same drug study with me still remains unclear. When Edward was released from prison, he immediately sought me out. He didn't want to reveal his identity because he was afraid that I might remember his name from my participation in the drug study, even though we had never officially met. I told Edward of the experience Jonathan and I had a few years ago regarding the attack by some psychotic wearing a ridiculous Halloween mask and costume who went by the name Eddie Ray Harrington. He was confused as to why I had associated his name, albeit somewhat abbreviated, with being the attacker. I asked him what he knew about Michael and Adam Brentwood, and he told me they were both dead. I told him that Adam had just broken into my apartment, from which I escaped. He said he wasn't very close to Alan Brentwood, but one thing he knew for sure was that both his sons were deceased, and that what I had experienced must have been some hallucination. Upon hearing this, I became angry, and he threw me out of his house. Concerned that Adam might come back to my apartment, I drove to Laura's place and stayed with her for a while. I regretfully never got back in touch with Edward Harrington after storming out of his house that night. He died 2 months later. As I would come to learn, he had Marfan syndrome, and it eventually took its toll. Since he had no surviving family and his wife had abandoned him, he left everything to me in his will. Perhaps as a final effort to atone for his involvement in helping to set the course for which my life would take. I've been unable to find any documents in the house that might unearth more clues to the past. I assume Edward shredded all the evidence at his disposal, possibly as an attempt to cover up his involvement prior to his inevitable demise. It's nice having a house all to myself, but it gets lonely. I've tried to convince Laura to move in with me, but she refuses to. There's been a lot of tension between us lately, and I've been distracting myself from it by cleaning out the garage. Although I'm finding difficulty motivating myself to just buckle down and complete the task. I'll get it done though.